So I know what you're thinking. And if you've come to this channel and this review to have me say something about how this is another meeting, another talk and everything, and to bash it, you're in the wrong place. Because the fact of the matter is, I would complain about this if two things were happening. One, the meetings were not important. Nothing was really talked about, nothing was really discussed. And two, if this was a season that was only 12 episodes. Because, you know, here we are in the 6th episode, I'll be like, oh my Lord, here it is, half the season, and nothing has really progressed. But truthfully, things have progressed. In this episode alone, a lot was talked about. I counted like at least 7 important topics that happened here. And that's just scratching the surface. I'm sure there's even more that we could break down and discuss. But here we have 30,000 troops coming to Falmouth. That's gonna have to be something they deal with. Plus another 100 troops that is coming with Hinata. Now, granted, she may not have approved all of this, but there's still something else that Rimuru has to deal with. We learned information about Hinata's group. We saw the meetings, but we didn't really know too much about them, how they're enlightened, and how that's gonna have to deal something with how strong they are as far as their battle prowess. Like, they're not just regular humans. We learned about Diablo and how he plans to fix things, as you see here. There's gonna be something that he has to do, which is probably why he's imaged a lot in the main theme song, which I didn't really talk about, but yes, they show a lot of images of Diablo, so I'm sure there's a lot that he has to deal with this season. We learn more detail about Rimuru and how he's gonna have to deal with all this. He's being spread thin. And, we see all these subordinates of Rimuru, but the fact is, he has to send people with the war, the 100 people. He has to deal with Hinata himself. So we learn more about the battle strategy that Rimuru is going to implement in order to make sure there's no problems or none of his subordinates die like previously. We also learn the Mastermind, the Rosa family, and how they're trying to pull the strings and deal with Rimuru and Tempest and Valdora and all these things that's happening. And we even learn about the Eastern Province's quest to deal with the West and how Cerberus is trying to use the Rosa family to disrupt the West, so then that way they can come in and the Empire can sweep through and take more lands of the West. So a lot was discussed in this one episode alone, so you cannot come to me and be like, oh my Lord, it's another episode about world building. Oh man, why don't they do anything? I know a lot of people on the surface are probably going to complain about it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to complain about it, but not here. Because the fact is, as detail oriented as I am, there is no way I can state that about this episode because a lot of things transpired here. Let's go a little bit in more detail about a few things. I find it funny how the secret leader of the Rosa family is kind of like the little girl, and how the grandfather is the one that kind of deals with the negotiations and the talks and such. I personally found this whole exchange of the Rosa family quite hilarious because it reminded me of last season and how Clayman had kind of like, they have like similar meetings, like pretty much the enemies, the bad guys have how they'll have meetings and gathering people together and like, haha, we're gonna outsmart the good guys, how we're gonna be #1 and we're gonna take over the world. And then of course, we know exactly what happens during the season, and then by the end, they're dead or crippled and their plans go awry. So I kind of just look at this and laugh. I don't know who these 4 guys that are actually on the wings, but they look so like no-name characters that is like, man, they're just so dead. Diablo, of course, is trying to do a little interrogation on people to see who's behind the scenes. So it wouldn't surprise me if Diablo somehow kind of gets into the network and learns more about the Rosa family and probably deals with some of these people. The character detail on the guys on the sides are just kind of so generic. I'm like, yeah, they're so dead. And then, of course, grandfather and all them, I wouldn't be surprised if they have some powers of some sort so they can be on equal footing to some people. So it's like, okay, fine, whatever. But this whole transaction, this whole meeting of the enemies, I just like, well, here's another group that thinks they can do better or have plans against Rimuru's group. They're going to be sadly mistaken in the future. It's just how long until we get there and what happens in the meantime. So I look forward to how they get their comeuppance in the future. The final thing I will touch on this episode is got to be the introduction of this girl, Gobwa. I like the character design. I think it's actually pretty cool how they done this. I like the mix of the blue and then the red as far as her hair and how it mixes as far as in her facial structures and such. And it's pretty interesting that they're still introducing like newer characters that are kind of subordinates of Rimuru that honestly we haven't seen before. And the fact that they introduced this whole other wing of the Kurenai people that is under Benimaru, and I was like, huh, that's pretty interesting, because you know they went over, dissected all the forces that they have, and when they shown the whole sect of these people with the red cloaks, I'm like, where did they come from? Now granted, they probably, maybe it was a group that was discussed more in the light novel or manga. I don't think it really discussed a whole lot about these people until now in the actual anime. But it was like, oh, we just have a whole group here that's just as strong, so utilize us. I'm like, okay, all right, well, this group here looks pretty cool. But I just kind of, when she came on screen, I was like, huh, all right. I'm glad that they still have the artistic prowess to introduce new people and still have them look interesting. Now, granted, whether or not she becomes a regular on the show after whatever happens as far as their battles and such, or if this is just kind of be standalone and she'll be in the background, okay, fine, whatever. But I will have to say, when she came on screen, I was like, oh, that's a striking looking character that me as a viewer, like, I want to know more about them, or them as a group, and in this battle, maybe we will learn more about them. So, you know, hats off to the animators and or creators, writers of this, because she looks interesting. So I want to know more about them, which is always good to interest your viewers as a show is long running and continues, so then that way it's never stale or boring. But regardless of this, I'm going to keep saying I have been enjoying the meetings and world building, because the fact of the matter is, we're going to get down to some battling soon, and I still state this is going to be a long season, so I'm okay about it. So I'm looking forward to what happens and transpires, because we're about to get into it. And all the haters, all the dissident people that have been discussing saying, oh man, another one of these episodes, you guys will soon be quiet, because this will be good. I can guarantee, I'm sure it's going to be. But aside from that, definitely let me know in the comments down below your guys' take. What do you guys believe? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Hey, that's perfectly fine. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe for more, because we will definitely discuss this and several others in the future. You guys be safe. Take care, Lord willing. I will see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Make sure to check out the extra content on our Patreon page, and thanks to our current patrons.
This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.